Before we begin, I want you to pause for just a moment and think about this question. What if 1 year from now, your life looks exactly the same as it does today? Same habits, same results, same excuses. For most people, that thought is uncomfortable. Not because they lack dreams, but because they don't have a system to turn those dreams into reality. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up in 2026 knowing you are more confident, more disciplined, more focused, and closer to everything you owe. NCE thought was out of reach. That kind of change doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen because of luck, talent, or motivation. It happens because of what you choose to focus on every single day. The truth is your life is being shaped right now by the questions you ask yourself when no one is watching. Today, you're going to learn how 3 simple daily questions can completely change the direction of your thoughts, your actions, and your future. If you stay with me till the end, you realize that the power you've been searching for has been with you all along, waiting to be activated. Clarity creates power because the human mind works best when it has a clear target. When you are clear about what you want, your brain automatically begins to filter information, opportunities, and choices in a way that supports that goal. Without clarity, energy gets scattered. You may work hard, but your effort is unfocused, which leads to frustration and slow results. Many people confuse being busy with making progress, and the missing piece is clarity. When you clearly define what you want, you give your mind a direction, and direction turns effort into results. This is why people who seem confident and driven often aren't more talented. They are simply clearer about their goals. Clarity also reduces fear and doubt. Uncertainty creates anxiety because the brain dislikes the unknown. When you don't know what you want, every decision feels heavy and confusing. But when you go, is clear, decisions become easier. You stop asking, should I do this? And start asking, does this move me closer to my goal? That shift saves time, emotional energy, and mental stress. Clarity doesn't mean having every step figured out. It means knowing the destination well enough to take the next step with confidence. Another powerful aspect of clarity is how it strengthens motivation. A vague goal produces weak emotional energy, while a clear goal creates a strong internal drive. When you know exactly what you want and why it matters, your brain links the goal to meaning. Meaning fuels persistence, especially on difficult days. This is why goals connected to personal values last longer than goals based on pressure or comparison. Clarity transforms I should into I choose, and that difference changes how consistently you act. Clarity also improves focus by eliminating distractions. In a world full of noise, social media, opinions, and endless options, clarity acts like a filter. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop chasing what looks exciting in the moment and start investing in what truly matters to you. This creates a sense of control over your time and actions. When your goal is clear, distractio. Lose their power because they no longer align with your direction. Your attention becomes sharper, your actions more purposeful, and your progress more visible. Daily questions shape destiny because what you repeatedly ask yourself determines your mind searches for and what you focus on. The human brain is designed to answer questions automatically, whether those questions are empowering or limiting. When someone consistently asks negative or careless questions, the mind produces negati, or careless answers, which then influence emotions and behavior. Over time, these repeated thoughts become patterns, and those patterns quietly guide daily decisions. Since destiny is built from daily decisions, the questions asked each day play a major role in shaping long-term outcomes. Questions act like instructions to the brain. Asking, why am I so bad at this? Trains the mind to look for proof of weakness, while asking, how can I improve today? Trains it to look for solutions. The external situation may remain the same, but the internal response changes completely. This shift in focus changes emotional state, and emotional state influences action. When emotions are empowered, actions become more confident and consistent. When emotions are discouraged, actions become hesitant or avoidant. In this way, questions quietly control behavior without people realizing it. Daily questions also influence identity. When someone repeatedly asks questions that assume growth, effort, ND possibility, they begin to see themselves as someone who learns, adapts, and improves. Identity is not fixed, it is shaped by what a person repeatedly tells themselves. Questions such as, what did I learn today? Or how did I show discipline toda? Reinforce an identity centered on progress. Over time, behavior aligns with that identity naturally, without forcing motivation. This is why lasting change often feels effortless once identity shifts. The consistency of daily questioning is what makes it powerful. A single good question can inspire, but repeated daily questions rewire thinking. This repetition trains the brain to expect progress, solutions, and improvement. Even on difficult days, the habit of asking constructive questions keeps the mind oriented toward action instead of defeat. Small changes in daily thinking accumulate, and those accumulated thoughts influence habits, choices, and results. Destiny is not shaped by rare moments of intensity, but by quiet, repeated ment. Habits that guide how each day is approached and lived. Small actions compound because progress is rarely the result of one massive effort, and almost always the result of repeated small behaviors over time. A single action may seem insignificant in the moment, but when that action is repeated daily, its impact multiplies. The human mind tends to underestimate small efforts because the results are not immediately visible, yet those invisible results are exactly what build long-term success. As a small amount of money grows through consistent saving, small actions grow through consistency, and time compounding works because habits shape outcomes. When a small action is repeated, it becomes easier, more automatic, and less dependent on motivation. This reduces resistance and increases follow-through. Large goals often feel overwhelming because they demand too much energy at once, leading to procrastination or burnout. Small actions remove that pressure. They lower the mental bar, rear to starting, which is often the hardest part. Once started, momentum builds naturally, making continued action more likely. Small actions also build confidence. Every completed action, no matter how minor, sends a signal to the brain that progress is being made. This creates a sense of control and self-trust. Over time, these small wins change how a person sees themselves. Someone who takes consistent small actions begins to identify as disciplined, reliable, and capable. That identity, REI, enforces the behavior, creating a powerful feedback loop where action and belief strengthen each other. Another reason small actions compound is that they allow room for learning and adjustment. When actions are small, mistakes are less costly and easier to correct. This encourages experimentation and growth. Instead of quitting after failure, a person can tweak the approach and continue. This adaptability increases the likelihood of long-term success. Big actions demand perfection, while small actions allow progress even when conditions are not ideal. Time is the final multiplier. When small actions are practiced over weeks, months, and years, the results can appear sudden and dramatic, even though they were built gradually. What looks overnight success is often the outcome of hundreds of small, unremarkable efforts. The compounding effect turns patience into a competitive advantage, rewarding those who stay consistent while others give up because they don't see immediate result. Emotion fuels action because human behavior is driven more by feelings than by logic. People may understand exactly what they should do, but without emotional connection, that understanding rarely turns into consistent action. Emotion provides the energy behind decisions, focus, and persistence. When someone feels excited, inspired, or deeply connected to a goal, action becomes natural. When emotion is weak or negative, even simple tasks feel heavy and exhausting. This is why two people with the same knowledge can produce completely different results depending on how they feel about what they are doing. The strongest emotions come from meaning. When a goal is connected to a personal reason, it creates emotional intensity. This intensity pushes people to act even when conditions are not perfect. A goal pursued only because of pressure, comparison, or expectation lacks emotional depth and is easily abandoned. On the other hand, a goal tied to identity, values, or personal growth rates resilience. The brain is wired to move toward pleasure and away from pain, and emotion defines what feels rewarding or uncomfortable. When progress toward a goal feels emotionally rewarding, action becomes self-reinforcing. Emotion also influence, ease, focus, and perception. When someone is emotionally invested, they notice opportunities that others overlook. The mind becomes alert, creative, and resourceful. Challenges are interpreted as temporary and solvable rather than permanent obstacles. Emotional engagement keeps attention anchored to the goal, reducing distraction and increasing persistence. This emotional focus turns effort into momentum, allowing progress to continue even during setbacks. Another important role of emotion is its effect on memory and learning. Emotionally charged experiences are remembered more strongly than neutral ones. When progress is linked to positive emotion, the brain reinforces the behavior, making it more likely to be repeated. This is why celebrating small wins is powerful. It creates positive emotional feedback that encourages continued action. Negative emotions can also drive action, but they are often unsustainable and lead to burnout. Positive emotional fuel supports long-term consistency. Emotions are not random. They can be influenced by thoughts, questions, and interpretation. By consciously choosing empowering interpretations and meaningful reasons, emotional states can be directed. When emotion aligns with purpose, action stops, feeling forced and begins to feel natural, creating a steady drive that sustains effort over time. Obstacles are feedback, not failure, because challenges reveal information rather than define ability or potential. When something does not work as PL, and it provides data about what needs to change. Many people interpret obstacles emotionally, seeing them as proof that they are not capable or that success is not meant for them. This interpretation creates discouragement and leads to quitting. Hidden obstacles are viewed as feedback instead. The focus shifts from self-judgment to problem solving. The situation becomes something to learn from rather than something to fear. Feedback is essential for growth because improvement is impossible with without adjustment. Every skill, habit, or goal involves a process of trial and refinement. If progress were always smooth, there would be no need to develop awareness, resilience, or strategy. Obstacles highlight weaknesses in approach, timing, effort, or understanding. This information allows changes to be made. Without obstacles, people would repeat ineffective behaviors without realizing it. Feedback exposes what is ineffective so that better choices can replace it. Seeing obstacles as feedback. K also builds emotional strength. When challenges are no longer seen as personal failures, emotional reactions become calmer and more controlled. Instead of frustration or shame, curiosity takes over. Questions shift from, why is this happening to me, to, what is this teaching me? This mental shift preserves confidence and keeps momentum alive. Emotional resilience grows as a result, making it easier to stay committed even when progress slows or feels uncomfortable. Another important effect, this perspective is adaptability. Life rarely follows a straight path, and rigid thinking increases struggle. Feedback encourages flexibility. When an approach fails, the goal does not need to change, the method does. This distinction keeps people moving forward rather than starting over repeatedly. Those who succeed long-term are often not the most talented, but the most adaptable, because they use feedback to evolve instead of giving up. Obstacles also strengthen identity when handled correct. ND accepted as part of the process. What once felt discouraging becomes familiar and manageable, turning challenges into stepping stones that quietly support long-term success. Consistency beats motivation because motivation is temporary and unreliable. While consistency creates results regardless of mood or circumstances, motivation comes and goes based on emotions, environment, energy levels, and external events. Relying on it means progress only happens when someone feels inspired, confident, or excited. Since those feelings are unpredictable, progress becomes inconsistent as well. Consistency, on the other hand, is built on routine and commitment. It allows action to continue even on days when enthusiasm is low, which is what ultimately produces long-term success. Consistency works because it reduces decision-making. When an action becomes a regular habit, it requires less mental effort to begin. The brain prefers efficiency, so repeated behaviors become automatic over time. This removes the internal debate of whether to act or not. Instead of waiting to feel ready, consistent people act first and feelings follow. This creates momentum, where action generates confidence rather than the other way around. Over time, consistent behavior reshapes self-image, reinforcing the belief that progress is something that naturally happens through daily effort. Another reason consistency is more powerful than motivation is that it builds trust with oneself. Every time a person follows through on a small commitment, they strengthen self-belief. This trust becomes a stable foundation for bigger goals. Motivation may push someone to start, but consistency is what proves reliability. Without consistency, motivation can lead to cycle. Of excitement and disappointment, where goals are repeatedly started and abandoned. Consistency breaks that cycle by emphasizing follow-through over intensity. Consistency also protects progress during difficult periods. Life includes stress, fatigue, and unexpected challenges. During these times, motivation is often the first thing to disappear. Consistent systems and habits act as a safety net, keeping progress alive even when circumstances are not ideal. This prevents long gaps in effort, which are often more damaging than slow progress. Small, consistent actions maintain connection to the goal and make it easier to regain momentum once conditions improve. Over time, consistency compounds just like small actions do. The results may seem slow at first, but they accumulate steadily. While others wait for the perfect moment or the right feeling, consistent effort quietly builds skill, confidence, and progress. This steady approach creates an advantage that grows stronger with time, making consistency one of the most reliable drivers of success across any goal or discipline. As we come to the end of this message, remember this: your future is not shaped by one big decision, one perfect moment, or one burst of motivation. It is shaped quietly daily by what you choose to focus on, what you choose to do, and how you choose to respond. By asking the right questions every day, you take control of your direction. You gain clarity instead of confusion, action instead of excuse, learning instead of quitting, and consistency instead of waiting. These questions are simple, but their impact is powerful because they align your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward growth. If you carry them with you into 2026 and make them the RT of your daily life, you won't just hope for change, you will create it step by step, day by day. I wish you the courage to stay consistent, the patience to trust small progress, and the belief to aim higher than you ever have before. May 2026 be the year you surprise yourself with what you're capable of becoming. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your energy. Good luck on your journey ahead, and may it be filled with growth, purpose, and success.